we got a few of the details. So it was
Yeah.
the four of them in that room: the president,
Yes.
the president-elect,
Yes.
chief of staff, the chief staff designate.
Yes, sir.
Were the two presidents ever left alone in the room?
I don't have anything beyond what I shared. What I can say is it happened for approximately 2 hours, and it included the current chief of staff, the incoming chief of staff, and obviously the two presidents. I can't speak if the presidents had the presidents themselves, President-elect and President Biden had an opportunity to speak privately. I can't speak to that. I didn't ask.
Over in the diplomatic room, right? And then
Right. So, to your point, you are correct. We sent out a pool note about how the President Biden, and also First Lady Dr. Biden greeted President-elect Trump upon his arrival, and just to add a little bit of color there, she gave the President-elect a handwritten letter to congratulate Mrs. Trump, and so also express their readiness to be involved and engaged with her team, Mrs. Trump's team, and so that specific piece, obviously, I would direct to the First Lady's office. But yes, they first met and greeted each other in the diplomatic room.
But Jake or nobody else came in, or
it was just the four. It was just the four of them, as far as who was in the room with the president.
It was in the Oval the whole time.
As far, yes, it was in the Oval. The Oval meeting was in the Oval, as I just stated, and you flagged for me that they greeted the president. They, meaning the First Lady, and also the President Biden greeted President-elect Trump when he arrived.
I have one other question about this weekend that people might wonder.
Yeah.
It's their third meeting since President Biden took office, but why bother having a meeting with Chinese President Xi if there's only 68 days left to go on the Biden administration?
Look, this is, Joe Biden. He understands the importance of having face-to-face, one-on-one conversations with world leaders, and I think Jake did a pretty good job laying out what's next, what they are thinking about, the reason for having the bilat. But it is an opportunity. They're both going to be in Peru. They're both going to be attending the APEC conference. It was an opportunity for them to meet. I think it's important. The issues that they're obviously going to speak about are important to the American people. As you think about national security, you think about Indo-Pacific. And so, I think this is very much something that the president would do, have that face-to-face, have those in-person conversations with other world leaders on issues that matter here to us and obviously globally. Okay, Peter.
Thanks, Green. Did President Biden show incoming President Trump anything classified?
No.
No. Why not?
Why would he? This was an opportunity for them to speak candidly, openly. I've said to you that it was gracious, it was incredibly substantive, and I'll just leave it there.
The last time these two were together in the same room was at the debate. They talked a fair amount about playing golf. Do you know if a plan was made for them to play golf in President Biden's retirement?
Actually, that's not the last time they saw each other. They saw each other at September 11th. I'm going to move on. Go ahead, Ed.
In the meeting, we saw a unified front related to a transition in the Oval Office meeting. But a lot was said on the campaign trail, like Trump is a dangerous threat to our country and our democracy. Was there an apology today?
I'm sorry?
Was there an apology from
President
whom? Biden for the words, some of the words used?
An apology from the President Biden.
To President-elect Trump for some of the words that was used on the campaign trail.
Look, and I've answered this a couple of times about a threat to democracy in the past week. The president is going to always feel obligated to be honest with the American people. What he says still stands. And it's not just him. You heard this from former staffers. You've heard it from the former chief of staff, John Kelly, and others. You've heard it directly from the president-elect, the former president, about enemy of the people. Very, very clear. Very clear. What we want to be also very clear about is the importance of listening to the will of the American people. There was an election. It is important to respect our institution. It is important to respect the free and fair elections. And that's what this president is doing, leading by example and putting that aside and putting the American people first. But what he said still stands. And it's not just him. We should not just put this at the president. His own people said this. So I want to be really, really clear about that and not forget the facts. There are facts here that we should certainly also lift up as you're asking me these questions. Go ahead, Anita.
Thank you. Did the two presidents discuss transatlantic security or climate change efforts and the U.S. role in that? And relatedly, what is President Biden's message to G20 leaders on these two issues and on the institutions and frameworks that hold them up? I'm talking about NATO and the Paris Agreement.
Yeah, so look, obviously they talked about national security issues, mentioned that already. There was a substantive, pretty detailed set of questions that the president-elect presented the President Biden with. They went back and forth on that. I don't have anything. I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty, into the specifics of what those topics were. Not something that I'm going to do from here. And look, the president is looking forward to going to the G20. You heard Jake do a pretty good laydown of the importance of the president going. It will be his last G20. Obviously, he's also going to go to APEC. APEC will be first. And the importance of meeting with these world leaders on issues and matters that are important to the American people. That's what you're going to see. This is going to be a continuation of the progress that we have made in almost 4 years on the world stage, whether it's talking about Ukraine and continue to support Ukraine, talking about Indo-Pacific, talking about the Middle East and how to move forward here. And so all of those issues and topics are certainly going to come up. And the president looks forward to having those conversations.
Considering that we know that President-elect Trump does not look favorably upon NATO or upon the Paris climate change agreement.
That's something for the president-elect to speak to. I mean, he has. What we have done here in the past 4 years is strengthen NATO. What we have done here is making sure that we strengthen our relationship with allies and partners. What we have done here is put the American people first, put our national security first, and really have conversation with world leaders on shared priorities. And so that's going to continue in the next 68 days. And that's the progress that the president wants to continue to have conversations about, and that's what you're going to see on this next ACONUS trip. Okay, good.
Thank you. Thank you. I think in this room we've all watched the very somber speeches that the president gave on democracy in Philadelphia at the Capitol, and today we see these pictures of two leaders chatting around a fireplace. There's a stark contrast here, and isn't there a risk that in the future, when voters are faced with warnings about democracy, they're just going to dismiss them and think this is just campaign stuff, this is just political?
I think there are two different things here. When it comes to what the president said in the past year, even more so about our democracy, the importance of our democracy, let's not forget, we saw that Americans do care about democracy. They care about protecting our freedoms. That is something that the president's never going to shy away from. He's never going to shy away talking about that. And it is important on how we move forward, right? It's important. But what we're seeing right now is also a democratic principle, right? When we're talking about transition of power, it is about our democratic principle as well. It is about continuing that transfer of power. It is about continuing that democracy. I know I said these are two different things, but they're also connected as well. And so for him to do that, for him to invite the president-elect and to have important conversations on issues that matter to the American people is actually part of what democracy looks like. And the president is never going to shy away from that. And again, were the elections what we had hoped? Absolutely not. We're not hiding that. We've been very clear about that. But we have to move forward. We have to move forward on behalf of the American people. And what you saw and what you're going to see when we talk about transition is about our democratic principles. Okay.
Thank you, Maureen. Going back to